How many of you have planted up a garden or a landscape that you just, after a few years, haven't been pleased with the results? That's definitely the case here for us at the Northern Michigan Garden. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and today we're going to show you a garden makeover. This garden has been in for about 4 years now, and it really hasn't been speaking to us. Like it doesn't feel right. I don't know. I guess that's the best way to say. So we wanted to do a garden makeover and just change up the look, change up the feel, and obviously it's going to take a few years to see if we nailed it or not. But this is in a full sun to part shade location, and also we had to keep in mind the deer. So let's go ahead and take a look at this garden makeover. This is the garden bed I'm talking about. This is the bed that is right along the road here at the Northern Michigan Garden. So very predominant as people are driving past. Not a lot of people up here actually have landscapes. So the fact that we want to make sure that it actually looks really nice. So in this garden bed, for those of you who've watched videos before that I've done in this space, you'll notice one thing. These grasses have been trimmed up. So when we got the place, there was a lot of grasses, there was coreopsis, there was irises, just kind of like a lot of easy things, which obviously makes sense to do, but things that we weren't really loving. So the first time we planted it, we tore out almost everything, left a few things behind that we thought would be okay. But in this time around, Rod tore out everything. There were some irises, so he gave those to the neighbors. There was some coreopsis that he's trying to kill off, so we'll see if that works. But we did want to keep the grass because the grass adds some really nice structure, I think, to this garden bed. But one thing you'll notice he did with these grasses is he trimmed them up a little bit. So if we were planting this bed new, I would grab the totem pole grass because it's nice, it's upright. Where these grasses here, most of these are miscanthus grasses, and they kind of do the up and over thing. So they were creating a lot of shade in this garden bed, which I think is part of the problem that we were having with the plants, why they weren't doing good, is because the grass was creating a lot of shade. So he took the hedge trimmers and kind of trimmed up the side of the grass to get anything that was weeping over. And then even at the top, he took some of the top off. So now these grasses are more columnar and not creating as much shade in this bed. So he said next year in July, he's probably going to go through and do this to them then. So that way we're eliminating that shade earlier in the season. So in this bed, most of what he chose were things that were going to be deer resistant. Annuals, perennials, and shrubs. Not everything. So there's a few things that we did need to spray with the Bob-X deer repellent spray because we knew they would be an issue. Now you can see that we've packed this bed full of annuals, creating a border. We have the lemon coral sedum, which the deer don't touch that. And then we also have the Calibrachoa Great Punch, which is a deer issue. So those got sprayed with the Bob-X so the deer don't eat them. Because it's the end of the season, all of these annuals are basically ready to get dumped because we're in Michigan, zone 6A. So he just packed it full. This is the way we can utilize these plants with a good purpose. They'll probably only be good for about another 3 weeks or so before it gets too cold. But right now it makes the garden bed look really nice. So what did he plant in this garden? So this bed is kind of symmetrical, as you notice, with the grasses. So as we go around, we're gonna see what he used. We've got some creeping phlox down here. So creeping phlox is gonna give us that early spring color. We're not here a whole lot early spring because we're in the greenhouse, but we did wanna have this bed always be having just some sort of color going on. So that's where that creeping phlox comes to play. Making our way around, we have the allium serendipity. Allium serendipity is those beautiful ball globe-shaped flowers that just dance in the summer. We're going to put pictures up of these plants because all of them have been trimmed back, because in the greenhouse we've done our recent summer trim. So we'll put pictures of what these plants will actually look like. But allium serendipity, it's an onion, kind of has the funny smell to it. Deer typically don't touch allium serendipity. Also, we did some butterfly bush. This is the Pugster Blue, and we planted probably 6 or so Pugster Blue in here. They only get 3 foot tall. Beautiful purple flowers from mid to late summer, nice and fragrant. Butterflies, hummingbirds love the butterfly bush. So that's part of the reason why we planted those in this garden bed. We did spirea. This is the double play dolly. Double play dolly has beautiful chartreuse foliage with pink flowers. And even when this plant's not in bloom, those flowers are gonna be fabulous. Behind the spirea, there's some nepeta or catnip. This is the cat's pajamas. This is a early summer blooming perennial, and when it stops blooming, give it a light trim and it'll be back to blooming again in no time. So a very long blooming perennial. There's another Pugster butterfly bush. He did tuck a couple of the allium serendipity kind of up in the front just to kind of carry that whimsy fun look through the garden. Bright splash of color is the double play dolly spirea. And we'll head to the middle of the garden here, and that's a hydrangea. So that is the hydrangea Little Lime Punch. Little Lime Punch is not going to be a deer resistant variety. So this is one we will have to keep the Bobbix on to keep it going. Hopefully as it gets bigger, it'll get bigger than kind of what the deer will be interested in, and we may not need to spray it as often, but I wanted to try to have the beautiful hydrangea blooms in this garden. So we know we'll have to keep those sprayed. Behind it is a salvia, and that's the salvia. The fuchsia is bright, so that will bloom probably in June or so, and that too, those can be trimmed back for additional blooms. Some Bernera. This is the Queen of Hearts, great early spring color. When you're planting for deer resistance, fine, fuzzy, and fragrant are kind of things to keep in mind. If your plants hit any of those, there's a good chance it's going to be a deer resistant variety. Another hydrangea, so that will have to stay sprayed. This one we were totally not thinking, this did not go good for us. This is Heucherella, and this is Heucherella I Spy. Definitely not deer resistant. Like the first night out, these, we could tell there was deer munch. So these will have to be sprayed as well, and we'll find out next year if these have to get removed or not, because this is one we planted quite a bit of that I don't want to fight the deer on. There'll probably be better options for us. So we'll see how it goes. Those might get replaced next year. We've got lavender, Sweet Romance, fragrant and fine foliage. Deer typically will stay away from the lavender, and you can see we did a mass planting of it here. Behind the lavender is more of that salvia. The fuchsia is bright, so we kind of did 3 little groupings of that. Here's more Heucherella, and this is kind of where we're hitting the center of the garden bed. So for symmetry, we're going to be seeing a lot of repeat things that we've just seen. Another hydrangea, some more Bernera, more of the butterfly bush, and the spirea dolly, double play dolly. Another grouping there of the fuchsia is bright, dolly, nepeta cat's pajamas. And then as we make the corner here, we've got that mass planting of the allium serendipity to match the other side, as well as more of the creeping phlox that also will match the other side. So yeah, we did a lot of plants with little variety. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how we like it. We can always add some more variety in next year. There's definitely gaps that can be filled. So if we want to add more varieties in, we have the space to do it. And one thing I'll point out with these annuals too, like I said, it's end of season, we planted them tight. Next year when we go to plant the annuals, we could do the sedum again. Probably wouldn't do the super bells. We just did them because we had them. And also the other thing is you'll notice they're planted really, really closely. We would probably plant about every 18 or so inches in this bed early season, and by the end of the summer they'd be filled out really nicely where we wouldn't need to go near as tight. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. You know, every time you plant something, it's kind of a trial and error. Hopefully more trial than error. So we'll see. It'll probably take a couple years to know if we like what we did here. But in the meantime, we knew we weren't loving what was going on. So we took the leap, changed it up, and we'll see, what we think of it next year. So if you've had that garden space that you're just not sure what to do with it because you're just not loving what it looks like, I'm giving you permission. Go ahead and change it up. Shake it up a little bit. There may be some plants in the garden you like. Go ahead and repurpose them. Find another home for them or find a friend that would want them. But don't be afraid to change things up if you're not liking what you have, because there's nothing worse than looking at a space and just not loving it. So go ahead, try something new, and especially for those of you who maybe have some deer in your yard, some of the varieties that we listed today too might be helpful for you if you're looking to choose new things to add into the garden that are deer resistant. Deer resistant does not mean deer proof. Always keep that in mind. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.